Guys, welcome back. In the previous video, we created or made use of .env files inside our application to hide any sensitive keys we don't want to expose to the outside world. In this video, we are continuing about authentication. But before that, I'll make you aware that this video will be a bit long, or let me say a little bit tricky, but I'll make sure I break it down to pieces for you to understand. Alright, so let's get started. In authentication, we have two things you need to bear in mind. One is what? Authenticated and authorization. Okay, we have done with the authentication. That is, we are able to log in into our application and assign a token to the user, right? So when you come back to authorization, is what you, the developer or the server, you want a certain user to access a certain route or resources inside your application. Alright, so let's take it that you want to have only login users or a user who is an admin to access a certain route, right? So that is what you call authorization. When you authorize a user to do certain things on your server. So we are going to make use of the package we make use of called JSON Web Token. JSON Web Token is two parts. One is to create the token, and next to decode the token and grab the user. So you're going to make use of that. So in this video, we are going to create a route or a function that will grab the user who has logged in. Alright, so let's get started. So inside our application, inside our middleware folder, let's create one file called Auth Middleware. Of middleware.js. So this is a middleware we are going to use to protect any route we don't want to be accessible to any user who is not logged in yet. So right now, let me go back to Postman and check. For example, we want to protect this route, okay? This route for only login users. As now, when I click on send, you see I get back what? The first user, even though I haven't logged in. So I want to protect this route. I want to authorize this user to access this route. So this is what we are going to do right now. Okay, so let's get started. So let me create a function called const auth middleware is equal to, I want to make use of my express package async handler. So let me import it here. Const async handler is equal to required and express async handler, and I'm going to wrap async handler to mine. So I will say here I want to make use of async await of my function and with my arrow function like that. And for this, it takes in 3 parameters: request, response, and next. Next will allow you to move on to the next middleware in the pipeline. Okay, so how are we going to do it? We are going to make use of the token. Okay, so here to access any route, we have to go to headers and add the token to the header so that our server will know that, okay, wow, this user who is coming into my application or my route has this token of which I know. So this is how we use to access any route which is protected. So click on this drop down and select headers. On this header, let's add authorization keyword here, authorization. Okay, and you're going to make use of bearer. So here, just type in bearer here and space and the name of your token. So here, the list login user is this token. Let me grab this token from the login user here and then come back to my fetch all users which I want to protect and paste the token here. So now our server knows that this user has a token. So when I click send, this user has been authorized to access that route. So that's the logic we are going to make inside our auth middleware to identify this user, the login user, and the token to be able to access. But as of now, when I click send, everything works because there is no middleware that is checking this token. So that is what we are going to do right now. Okay, cool. So let's come back here. Here, let me assign the token as undefined here. Token like that, there's no value for that. Good. So here, I'm going to check when you console log rec.headers.authorization. Okay, on the request object, okay, on the request, we have what is called headers. So we can say that now if on my request.headers, if you are doubt of where I'm getting the headers from, inside any of your routes, let's try to console log header. So let me do it and come back here, the request. So for example, inside my fetch users route, where am I having it? Here. Inside my fetch users here, where is it? This one. Let me console log console.log here rec.headers. So when I click on this, when I hit this route, come back to my terminal. Sorry for moving up and down. As you can see, on the header, I have what is called authorization, and I can see my value here on authorization property here because I assigned that one to inside my postman here. I assigned it, so I have access to this key and the value. That is cool, right? So we are going to grab this token here from the header and then decode this user and get the ID which was used to sign this token. So let's continue. Good. So here, inside my auth middleware here, I'll see my token is like that, and I'll say if on the request and the headers dot authorization, you saw that one inside the console. If there is something of that authorization on the header and request dot headers dot authorization, okay, dot start with, if the main logic is I want to grab this token. So if it starts with bearer, okay, so here if it starts with what, this keyword bearer, okay, remember it will return true or false, right? If it's so, then I will say bring my try and catch method and making use of async here, and inside my try I'm going to grab the token from the header and assign to my token variable I declare here. So here I will say token is equal to on my request object dot headers dot authorization, okay, I want to grab only the token one more time. So I'm going to split, because a string, I'm going to split it. Split with what? Is no space? Yeah, space here. And here I'll get two values inside my array and I can grab the second one. So that is how I'm going to do. So I will say I'm going to split with space, okay, and I'll grab the second index of it. If you are doubt about how I'm getting this value here, let's try to console log the token. When I grab only the token here, let me say, okay, because I'm not handling this one here. Okay, I will demonstrate to you next. So I'm going to grab the second index. Okay, the second index is what? Is this one. The first one, I'll have an array. When I do split, I'll get something like this. I'll get something like this. Array like this, and then the first key is what? Like this. And then next one will be what? My token with a value. So this first 0 index and then second index. That's what I'm doing here. Okay, so I grab that. So when I grab that, it means here I have my token, right? So I'm going to decode the token. Remember when I show you on the JSON token website, when I paste in my code, I got my ID back, right? I got my ID back. So that is what I'm going to do right now. So I will say const, let me say decoded. I'm going to decode the token and get the user out of the token. That's what I'm going to do. So I'll say JSON web token here, JWT here, dot verify. Okay, dot verify. And I will take the token I got from my header, and the second, the key used to sign, and the key was found under process.env dot, what's the key? Let me come back here, and then the key is JSON JWT secret key, and the key is like that. Good. Now I have my token here. So here I can quickly console log the token. Okay, so right now let's try to export this one, or should I finish? Okay, let me finish it before. So now I have the user here. Okay, and that user is the ID from the verify. Okay, so next is I have to find the user inside my MongoDB. So I can say const, because I already have the user. If you doubt me, let me do it one more time. For login user, take the token from here, copy the token, go back to JSON website, paste the code here, and then you have the ID. So I'm going to make use of Mongoose API, find my ID, and find this ID inside my database. So here I will say const user is equal to await, and then user model. There I have what is called find by ID, and the ID is inside this one, decoded. So decoded dot ID. Remember, when you come back here again, is what the ID you find here when you try to decode it. Okay, so now we have the user here. So now that I have the user, I want to append this user to my request object. So I will say request.user is equal to my user. Perfect, right? Good. So here I will call my next. If something goes wrong, if there's no token provided, I will say res.status, and I will say not found, which is 401. For not found, I'll check about the status code. Then I will throw my custom error and say, oops, authorization failed. So I will say not authorized, and I will say that I will say token is fake. Sorry, token is fake or invalid, token, invalid token. Okay, authorize is like that. Okay, so now I have this middleware that will check the user who has logged in. If there's no token added to the header, this one will trigger, and if there's a user, it will append the user to my request object, and I can have access to the user inside my code base. So good. The next piece of the cake is to export this. So module.exports equal to auth middleware. So good, we have it. How can we make use of it? It's very simple. Come back to your route, and any route you want to protect, you have to pass it as a second parameter to the request handler. So here, let's import. I can have auto import here. I have it. Let me check again. Auto import the middleware you just created, and then just bring in comma here, and boom, you're good to go. So here, let me try again and come back to fetch users and protecting and send. Not authorized, invalid token. Yes, as you can see, that this error has been catched because there's no user with that token. So let me log in again with this user and then grab the token, and then for my fetch users, come to headers and then authorization, bearer, and let me do this one and then paste the new token and then send. Let me check my response. Not authorized. Why is the problem? Okay, so let me come back to my, where is it? Auth middleware here. Bearer. You need to bring a space, okay, between this one. Save it because, and let's see. So not authorized. Wow. What is a problem? So let's try to decode it one more time. Okay, so here we have the request header authorization, correct? Okay, so let's try to console log the request dot header from here and see we have a nice back, right? That's part of programming. So let me check, hit it, and then let me go back to my terminal and see I have it. The token is being, then let me try to, let me say console log start with bearer. Let me copy this one here. I just want to know, be sure what I'm getting. Okay, do I have, oh guys, sorry on my side. The problem is that, let me bring back here, is that I'm not making use of JWT here, so I have to import it. Okay, so const JWT equal to required and then JSON web token, like that. So let's try. Let me make use of this one and then let's try and access this route. Let's wait for good news. It's still hanging. Excellent. We see I get back the user. When I make changes to this one and then send it, it tells me that not authorized because I'm not passing the token to the header. So I'll get this nice error. Why is still keeping long? So let's wait and see what will happen for good news, right? Okay, so let's go back and let me explain one more time to you. So what this log is doing is that you are checking the header if there's a bearer token attached, and then you grab only the token and then use JSON.verify to verify the token, taking the token from the header and the key used to what sign this user, and then you fetch this user and then we find this user because when you decode it, you have the ID of the user used to sign this token, and you'll find this user with this ID, and you get a user, and you append that user to the request object. So let's see why is so keeping long. Okay, let me cancel it and then send it. Yeah, but when I don't provide this token, okay. So let me check because the header provider, let me change the token here. Let me tweet it and then send this token. Give me not authorized. Yeah, but have to provide the value key here. So as you can see, when I make changes to the token, it gives me invalid token. When I undo it, send again. Let me come back, copy the token again, come back to fetch users and then paste it here. Log in, fetch the user and fetch users. Excellent. So now, since we attach the user to a request object inside of any route, I have access to this user. So inside the user's route, instead of just console log this or even this one, I can send back the user who has logged in. I'll say rec.user. Let me send back the user. So here, let me fetch again, and I'll have the user being fetched from my MongoDB. Okay, as you can see, I get back my user who has logged in, right? So guys, that is how we protect any route. So for example, if you want to protect any route, for example, there's what do you call it, update. You can just add a second argument, save it. Let's go to update. Where is it? User. Let me send it. Oh, it's /update, right? What is the path? Update. Is this update? Good. Let me check. Let me check the route. Oh, /update. So I don't have to provide the value here. Authorization. And then let me send it. Oh, bearer here.